Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. I know you're going to get tremendous benefit from the gentleman we're interviewing today. His name's Nizan Mosery, and he is a real estate investor. Has had done over $150 million, or owns currently over $150 million in real estate. But it's a lot across a lot of different asset classes, including office and of course multifamily. And is closing on some multifamily actually today. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. Nizan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate
it. Absolutely. So I know that you're in Boca now, and you just moved back to the States in 2009. And I was a little confused when I saw that you were born in New York, but then you were in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and now I understand because you moved back. So let's start with giving us a little background on your real estate career, because it sounds like it's pretty interesting. So maybe you can start at the beginning and bring us up to current.
Sure. I was born into an immigrant family that had just moved to the country, and it was quite interesting growing up in a foreign house, right? I had to learn bad English before I could learn good English, right? The way my parents would speak to me, my dad would come home and say, excuse me, you son, you go get coffee, me bring now. And I would have to understand that he was asking me politely to go get him a cup of coffee. But with all that, my father and my mother always taught us that, the richest person on the planet is someone who owns a piece of land free and clear, because then no one can take it away from you. You can do with it whatever you want. You can build a home on it. You can rent it. You can lease it. You can sell it. It's yours. No one could ever take it away from you. And, growing up, my father always instilled in my mind and in my brother's minds that there's two types of people in this world, right? Those that collect rent and those that pay. And son, you always want to collect. You always want to be on that end. And it's funny because when I came back from being in the Israeli Defense Forces, I came back to the States to go back into college, and I didn't have a place to live. And so I moved in with my parents, and then that got old kind of fast. And I went to rent an apartment, and then my dad almost, he flipped the switch. Didn't I teach you anything? You're going to rent. You're just paying money and you're throwing it out, at the door. Build equity, buy something. I wish I was able to, at the age of 21, to spend millions of dollars and buy myself an apartment in Manhattan, but at that time I didn't have it. So I grew up with that mindset. I grew up with my father buying real estate in New York. I was part of the renovation stages of that, actually doing all the dirty work and getting in there and grinding, pulling out wires, pulling out piping, drywall, flooring, resurfacing, redoing, from that aspect of it. And then I also was on the front lines with him, learning to buy property, always looking for that good deal. But what I learned from him was also, you have to start with the end in mind. Right. When you're buying real estate, when I was a little kid and we would drive around, I said, "Oh, Dad, that looks like a really nice building. We should buy that." And he would always ask me, "What are you going to do with it? Who are you going to sell it to? What's going to be your end goal?" So, I always was able to have that in the back of my mind. And I traveled for many years and all over the world. And I've bought and sold real estate in different countries. And it was always that little song that was in the back of my mind. What are you going to do with it? What's going to be your end goal? Who are you going to sell it to? And that's how I've gone and I guess, been successful with real estate, always looking at the end before going in, because you could always buy a piece of property. That's easy, right? The question is, what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to sell it to? So I grew up in that. And like you said, I went into the IDF, came back, and was here for a couple of years working on Wall Street. I had retail clothing stores with my brothers in Manhattan. And in 1995, my father passed away, and it kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know what to do. I thought that this was life, right? You work. At the age of 65, you retire, and then 2-3 years later, you're dead. But I didn't want that for myself after seeing, kind of firsthand what it was. And so I packed up my stuff and I moved to Israel. I hung out on the beach there for about a year, and then I went traveling for 6-7 years. I met my wife while traveling, settled down back in Israel, did some fix and flips there. And then when the crash hit, I knew that it was a great opportunity to come back to the States and just start acquiring, because prices in real estate was really, really low. So we did that. And, I came to Florida with knowing one person. A good friend of mine from New York had moved to Florida about 20 years ago. So we came and he was the only person I knew, him and his wife, good friends of mine since we were 14 years old. My network, I had no network. I didn't know the market here in Florida. So I really started at ground zero, level, nothing. I had to build my network, had to build my knowledge of the market, not only of my local market, but of the national market. What were good markets to go into? And being in the Israeli army, they teach you one thing, one main thing. They teach you to follow your commander, because your commander knows where to step. Your commander knows where to go. Your commander has already been there, done that. So follow them, right? There's a big saying in the Israeli army. It's after me, follow me, right? It's not, hey, you go do that and then come talk to me about it. It's follow me. So I learned that early on. Find somebody who knows what they're doing and follow them. Right. I followed my dad. I listened to him. I was, my brothers mentored me for a while. So when I came back and I started fixing and flipping homes here in South Florida, I knew that was a limited time for until that would dry up. So I was looking for other things. In New York, I didn't want to deal with apartments because it's a tenant-friendly state. You've got rent control, rent stabilization. You got all these crazy aspects going on there. And we've had tenants that didn't pay us for over a year that we couldn't evict, or going through the eviction process. So I didn't want to touch that in New York. So it was all commercial. But I knew that it was a great asset class to be in, multifamily. And I was scouring the internet, and then I found my mentor. I worked with him. I learned the ins and the outs. And thanks to that education, I was able to go out and to acquire and sell over 1,500 units all around the country, networking and meeting people that I was able to put in my team, right? And it's very important to have the right team players.
So let's drill down on that a little bit, because like you said, you moved here, you didn't know anybody. So, and then you did the right thing, which is find some help, educate yourself, get a mentor, otherwise you're going to make mistakes. And, but then talk about how you put that team together and what that looked like. And if we can be a little granular even.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. So what I did was I took inventory of myself, of what I have, right? I took a piece of paper, I split it down the middle. I said, me, them. And then I wrote an entire list of what I bring to the table. Do I bring money? Do I bring time? Do I bring relationships? Do I bring motivation? Do I bring systems? Didn't matter what I brought, right? And if I could share with your listeners as well, it doesn't matter what you bring as long as you can write down what you have on one side. And
everybody's got some superpowers, some skill sets. So don't sell yourself short. But that's that. You're right. That's the first thing. You take stock of and you identify deficiencies.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. I identified my deficiencies, and what I was lacking, I put on the other side of that list.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Right. And then I said, okay, who are the people that I need to find? Well, I need to find people with money. I need to find people who know what they're doing. I need real estate attorneys in the markets that I'm buying in. Well, what markets do I want to be in? And why, right? So I need people who know different markets. I needed people who knew how to underwrite correctly and analyze properties. Because you know what? I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, but I understand that I need to have people smarter than me. Mm-hmm. So I found people who can underwrite. I found people who can analyze. I found people who can create projections.
So you say you found these people. Did you align with these people to partner, or did you hire these people, or what?
Some people I hired. Mm-hmm. Right? Assistants, bookkeepers, attorneys, real estate attorneys, SEC attorneys. These people are hired, right?
Sure.
One of the main things when I got into this business, I said I want to keep my employee level down. I don't want to babysit people. Right? I'm not in the babysit.
And you got to manage your expenses as well, of course.
Exactly. Especially when you're beginning, right? Sure. You can't just start shelling out money, because then you're stressed. And when you're stressed, you make stupid decisions. Yep. You make decisions that can hurt you and bring you into
based on fear. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. based on scarcity, on fear rather than abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that list down and I went out and I gathered all these people. Some, like I said, some people I hire and I pay them, and some people I bring in as my team, as my teammates, right? So now I have 2 people on my team that are partners, and it's been incredible.
Can we speak to the skill sets of those people?
Sure.
You know, so these are people you aligned with, you've partnered with, because this is a topic that I feel very strongly about, because you know I really believe in the power of playing to your strengths and supplementing anywhere you're weak, like you're defining here.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's very important to know your strengths, right? You know, we hear a lot today, you know, find out what you're weak at and make that stronger, right?
No.
I don't like that.
No,
I don't like that.
Completely disagree with that.
Right. I like to take my strengths, make those incredibly strong.
Maximize them.
Maximize it, exactly. And then find the people who can complement or supplement my weaknesses because they're awesome at that, right?
Yep.
So I went out and I found those people and I partnered up with them. I partnered up with a gentleman who has raised over $130 million in capital when he worked for family offices. I found someone who's got, you know, master's degrees from universities in France, in Miami, in economics. So they know projections, they know spreadsheets. They can do. I've never seen somebody do, you know, something with an Excel spreadsheet like my business partner can. She can make Excel do back flips and front flips, and it just amazes me, right?
Right.
And I'm the guy that, you know, I can talk.
You're obviously the face of this thing. You're the talking head. Yep, me too. Same here. I mean, it's the exact same thing. And I've got a CPA that's raised a ton of money and loves the spreadsheet, and that's just not me. But I mean, can I read it? Yes. Can I understand it? Yes. Do I love it? No.
Exactly. Exactly. You put a spreadsheet in front of me, I can obviously read it. I can analyze it. I can make good business decisions based on the trends that I'm looking at and whatnot. But am I the one that's going to input all the numbers? Not me, right? I can build relationships with people. I can get people to look at my track record, at our track record, at our future, and bring them in so that they can invest with us. You know, that's kind of what I do. Sure,
absolutely. Right? And so can your other partner, I guess, that's raised money as well.
Absolutely.
As well. Yeah. So that's guys. That's how you complement skill sets. In fact, I'm doing a driving force episode on this. I do these episodes once a week about motivation and success, and I call them your driving force success tips. And I'm actually doing one on playing to your strengths right now. So this is top of mind for me. But fantastic. So you put this team together, and it looks like you are an opportunist, because I know you do multiple asset classes. So you know, like in New York, you struggle with the stringent, frankly, debilitating landlord-tenant laws, and you bought office there, for example. Correct. Are there what other asset classes have you gotten involved in? Just, I don't want to digress too far, but I just want to let people know that, you know, this is a great model, is to be an opportunist in the entire real estate scheme.
Absolutely. So, you know, our core business is multifamily value add, right?
Okay.
But we have to be open to other opportunities that come your way. I'm not going to run around looking for every shiny penny. Right. But when something falls on my lap, I'm going to take a look at it, and if it's screaming opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it. So we've also gotten involved in a 120 boat slip marina outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
Where we're now, it's on 14 acres of land. And we're also putting in 35 vacation cabin rentals that overlook the lake. There's annual memberships. There's a huge pool. There's barbecue. So there's a lot going on there. With also the end in mind is either to sell it as a resort or to sell it to a developer so they can cut up the 14 acres and build. And it's in location. We bought it at a great time. We bought it when the seller was stressed, and we bought it in a zip code area that is one of the wealthiest zip codes in that area. So we knew exactly where to buy it. We also bought a hotel, 240 room hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, about 1.5 miles from Graceland, about 2 miles from the airport.
Wow.
You know, we bought it at $1.9 million.
Huh.
And that was, I got to tell you,
That's a fantastic price. I was just listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast yesterday, and the lady was talking about how she loves it if she can buy a hotel for 100 grand, or all in on a hotel at 100 grand a key. And you're at about 10 grand. You're less than 10 grand a key on that.
That's right. That's right.
And
Send her my way. I'll be willing to sell her my hotel.
I've had some bad experiences in Memphis. In fact, I probably stayed at that hotel. I don't remember the name of the hotel I stayed at there, but it sounds like it. But anyway, well, that's awesome. So what's your end game for that hotel?
So the end game for the hotel is obviously to renovate it, fix it up, bring it back to life, because it was actually the hotel that Elvis Presley and his manager used to go to. There was a bar called the Dad's Place. There, it still exists, and there's a booth that is blocked off where Elvis Presley used to sit.
Oh, very cool.
So so the community really loves this place, but the previous owner ran it down to the ground. When I did the walkthrough, I saw 6 police officers pulling a guy out of a room, for breaking his probation. I saw 2 drug deals going down. I saw men going into women's rooms that were paying by the hour. So it wasn't really the best place to go, but it had incredible bones and incredible potential.
So let me ask you this, and I want to kind of throw this out there. Now, you've put together this team that understands economics. You've put together someone that that can make an Excel spreadsheet do backflips, and you know how to raise money. You've also got another team member that knows how to raise money. But do any of you have hotel-specific experience?
I was involved in a hotel in South America.
Okay. All right. That's the reason I ask, guys. If those of you listening, if you have not done it, do not try to do it without a mentor or help.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because you will get your butt kicked. So,
absolutely.
So that's why I asked the question. Fair enough. Okay. And then,
it's great because you can raise rent on a daily basis. You can also kick people out immediately if they don't pay you that day. However, there are, if you have 22 moving parts in a multifamily deal, in a hotel, you've got about 140.
Right. There's so many pieces. And that's why I asked the question, because it's not for someone that doesn't know what they're doing,
right,
that hasn't been involved in it, or partners with someone that knows what they're doing. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, fair enough.
Right.
But let's go back to multifamily. I know that you're closing on a deal today, correct? Like a 70 unit? All
76 unit property.
Where's
it's a
it
Cardinal deal. It's in Lilburn, Georgia. It's in Gwinnett County. It's the
so
number
that's an Atlanta
one
burb, right?
Yeah. It's 40 minutes outside of Atlanta. It's it's in the fastest growing county in Atlanta, and I think it's in the top 5 counties in the U.S. It's set to outpace Atlanta in growth by 2030. It's huge. There's, a lot of people, basically what happens in all major cities, right? The middle class gets kind of squeezed out, right? Rents are increasing. People, you need 3 jobs just to pay your rent.
You're talking about in like an urban part of the city.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
So people getting pushed out, and now they're going out to the suburbs. And Lilburn is one of the suburbs that's really close to Atlanta. And this property is probably one of the last safe havens, if you will, for where rents are extremely below market.
So how'd you find the deal?
Great broker relations.
Okay.
Great broker relations and knowing the market, right? So the gentleman that I'm involved in, that we partnered up, that has that's done all the raise and worked with family offices, he's built all these relationships with these brokers these past 10 years that he's closed with, right?
Right.
Raised $130 million working with these brokers. He's closed. He has a good track record. So he partnered up with us, and we partnered up with him. We created this team, and now he's going out to the brokers. He's saying, look, I'm working with these guys. This is their track record. I'm working with them now. Let's make it happen. So the one broker got us the 50 unit that we bought, that we closed on in April. Then he gave us a 76 unit. And behind the 76 unit, we already have under contract in Athens, Georgia, 2 more assets. Another 44 unit that has a master lease option on that, and another 127 unit that we're going to acquire. And because we have the relationship with the broker, and we've closed with this broker already, he's helped us get a long extended runway to close on these assets, because he knows we have them one behind the other.
Okay.
So it's really good to have those very strong broker relations.
No question.
You know,
Now those were historical relations. What would you tell an aspiring real estate investor that needs to build those relations?
The best thing to do when you're pinpointing a market to go to or to invest in, take a day, take 2 days, fly out, spend the money. Right. All right. Today you can get, Spirit for
and
80,
break,
90,
and break
100
bread
bucks.
With them, right? Go out
Amen.
there and break bread with them.
Amen.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely. Because, one of my hats that I wear is also a commercial broker. Right. I have my license. I have my brokerage. I don't necessarily work as a broker, but it's one of the things that I have. And, if I'm going to work with a new buyer and they're calling me from, Alaska or Utah or New York or LA or Chicago, it doesn't matter where. And hey, I want to, I'm looking to buy on your market. And I've got 5 guys that I know personally that have come to visit me, that shared with me, that are building relationships with me, that I have a track record with. I'm going to go with them first.
No question.
Right? So fly out there, break bread with them. It shows them that you're serious. It differentiates you from everybody else.
No question. And so here's the sequence, guys. When you said it earlier, you said become an expert in the market. So as part of that process, you're calling the property managers, the brokers, the local real estate attorneys, the local contractors, and just any of these other components of your team. You're calling them on the phone initially, so that when you go out there for 2 days, you're back to back. You've got lunch plan, you've got breakfast plan, you've got dinner plan, you've got coffee in the afternoon. So you're maximizing your time and meeting these people and letting them see your sincerity and your passion and your integrity. And that's how you get these relationships going. All right.
Absolutely. And it's, people think, well, I have to sound like I know what I'm doing or I know what the market. And, the best thing to do, what I do is I just go in and I tell them, listen, we're going to come in hard into this market. We're coming in. We want this market. I don't necessarily know the exact places to go. If you're going to be my broker, I need you to direct me to the best locations, the path of progress, this and that. Why don't we get in your car and spend the next 45 minutes and you can show me the best areas to acquire in? And if you do that with 2, 3, 4, 5 brokers, you now have a map of where each broker thinks. And funny, one broker sent you that way, another broker sent you that way. Right. So now you're saying, okay, who do I need to listen to? Who I go? And you start researching, and you can do your own research with that. And when you're talking to real estate attorneys, where have you had a lot of, issues with buyers and sellers when you've done closings? Where, all these questions. Man.
Same with property management companies.
Absolutely.
What are the paths of progress? Where do I not want to collect rent at night? You can get so much information. Are there any areas that are gentrifying? What businesses have moved in and moved out? All of these important questions, so that you become an expert, so that you understand what the market rents are for the typical, for the asset classes that you're interested in. Okay, awesome. So I know that. So when you were starting out in your real estate career, were there any aha moments for you? I know you had your father's wisdom and pushing you, but as you were getting rolling, any aha moments?
Yeah. Aha moments were, one of them was, I can't do everything myself. I want to think I can. I always joke around and I tell people, you'll never find Batman and me in the same room together. But really, my business partner said it best. When you're buying multifamily or any commercial real estate, it's like running 12 marathons. And to finish, you have to cross the line on all 12 marathons at the same time. I don't know about you, but I can barely run down to the block and back. You want me to run 12 marathons by myself? Not going to happen, right? Excuse me. So the aha moment was, I can't do it all myself, right?
And you were doing it all yourself, like the house flipping thing. And
absolutely.
That's when you had that realization. So those of you guys listening that are doing single family, don't even think about trying to do this yourself. Multifamily real estate is a team sport, period. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're saying flipping homes, I found myself, with sheetrock
Oh
drywall
yeah, been
hanging
there.
it on the ceiling. And I'm looking at myself going, there's got to be a better way to do
Well,
this.
and is that the best use of your time? What are you really worth? You want to ask
Exactly.
yourself that question. If you're doing things that you can leverage, you likely shouldn't be doing them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what's the most challenging part of your what you're doing right now? What would you define as the most challenging part of your role?
Um, the most challenging part would be making sure that all the pieces fit together. You know, I'm what you call the sponsor on the deals, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
the guy that signs on the mortgage. I'm the guy that comes with the experience, with the net worth, with all that. Sort of, for lack of a better phrase, like the skipper of a ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
The skipper knows how to maintain the engine, knows what the engine needs, but he's not the mechanic. He's not the engineer, right? He knows how to pilot the ship, but he's not the guy spinning the wheel. He's not the navigator, but he knows how to plot courses and knows how to read the map.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very challenging to to keep all the pieces moving forward and whatnot. And, as a great example, we had, on the deal that we're closing today, we were going with a lender that came to us and said, the purchase price was $4.4 million. They said, we're going to give you $3.4 million loan to value. Based on a 4.4. We said, wow, that's fantastic. That's great. So all we have to do is raise $1 million plus closing costs, fees, and so forth. That's nothing. We can do that. We're moving along. Everything's fine and dandy. And about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks before closing,
they lowered the loan amount.
They come to us and say, you know what, guys, you, pointing their finger at us,
Right.
you underwrote this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We said, I'm sorry. I've got a gentleman here who's been underwriting for the last 10 years. I don't think we made that. Well, the underwriting, there was a mistake. So we're lowering your proceeds by $700,000.
Yeah.
I said, how can you do that 3 weeks before closing? You're just throwing, you're throwing a wrench into my spokes, into my bicycle spokes, and you're flipping us. What are you doing? Well, it's because of the underwriting. And so I got my partner on the phone with their underwriter, and we went through it, and we got them 3 times to say that it was their mistake, not ours. Because if it was my mistake, I'm changing careers. I'm not in this business anymore, right?
Right.
But we got them to say that it was their mistake. But still,
yeah, but they still won't raise the loan amount because they've got to manage their guidelines. Wow, yeah, we had a similar thing happen on a deal we just closed last week as well, and it's happening more and more right now because there's a looming contraction and I think they're starting to get uncomfortable. Rates are creeping up pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know that. Well. Let me ask it. I asked you what's the most challenging part. What's the most favorite part of what you do right now?
Oh, in about what time is it? In about an hour from now, when I get the call from the closing agent and they say, "Congratulations, Mr. Mosery, on a successful closing." I pick up the phone. I call the property manager that's waiting outside. And I say, "Go for it.
Go in and get the keys." Yeah, love it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, they love it. Okay.
I also love the part where I'm looking at my not my bank account, the bank account for the company that we're raising money into, and I see the money flowing in.
Sure.
I see the PPMs coming in. I see it. That tells me that people are trusting us. They're trusting our track record. They're trusting our underwriting. We've built the right relationships, and it's working. The system is working, and that is just a great feeling to have.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. So, what words of wisdom would you share with an aspiring real estate investor, someone that knows they should be doing this, hasn't pulled the trigger yet, maybe has owned some single family duplex or but they know they want to do larger things? What would you tell that person?
Find a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Get educated.
Right.
Okay. Get educated. Read as many books as you can about commercial real estate. Read books. It doesn't matter from who. It doesn't matter what. Read. Get educated, and then go out and do it. I was talking to someone, not too long ago, and from what I was gathering from them was that they were afraid to make a mistake, and that's why they hadn't gotten started. And I told them, I said, you know what? Deal with it. We're all going to make mistakes.
That or get a mentor. Get someone that looks over your shoulder. And as you know, guys, if you haven't downloaded my free 200-page book, you're making a huge mistake because it's like a textbook for this business. Educate yourself. And then you said just do it. And that's why at my live events, I spend a significant amount of time helping people push through fear, defining their goals, defining what it is they want, their version of an ideal day, you know, so that they trigger their reticular activating system to focus on what it is they want and push forward. Now, I know you enjoy talking about goals as well. So let's have that conversation. Sure. What pushes you? What makes you jump out of bed in the morning? What drives you to keep pushing forward?
Well, you know, that's a great question. In my life, that why has changed. And it's okay to change because as we grow in age, as we grow in wisdom, as we grow in life and experiences, our perspective, our needs change, right? When I was younger, my why, and if I may say this, my why was to shove it up my brother's ass.
Oh, that's wow.
Okay. I needed to prove to myself that I was better than them. I needed to prove to them that I could do it. Right. And then when I got older, I realized I don't need that anymore. I don't need to prove it to them. I have to prove it to myself. So why am I getting out there? For me, I want to see how big and what I can do for myself. And now I have two amazing daughters, 9 and 12 or 9 and 11. And my why has changed. I don't do it for them. I do it so that they can see what a successful person looks like and be the example for them. I don't wake up and say, I'm going to make money from my daughters. No, because you know what? What happens if you already have money? Then why? Then why are you waking up from bed? Why are you doing it? It's not the money. I want to be the example. I want to be the man in their lives that when they grow up and they search for a partner, doesn't matter what gender or whatever, if they search for a partner, what qualities will that partner have? And I want to be the example for that. So that's kind of my why.
I love it.
My desire for doing what I do.
Now, guys, those of you listening, if you're in the wrong relationship even, get out, because if you have children, they are going to model what they see. And Nizan's example of showing your children what success looks like, you need to everybody listening to me right now needs to find their leverage, find what's going to push them to take action. And if you have children, that's a great leverage tool. You want them to see success. And, I take, my coaching students and people at live events through this goal setting workshop, and we talk about, of course, defining your goals, but then we get into the why, because the why is what drives you. And you've got to find that leverage on yourself, and children are a great way to do it, because you want them to experience, because they're going to model whatever they see. So you want them to see, you have to be very careful about what you allow them to see. And it's very fascinating what you just said. You needed to prove something to your brother. For me, it was really to the world in general. You get picked. You must have had conflict with him, and I had conflict with kids in school, and so I had to prove to the world I was good enough. So I went out there and built this a huge home, this testament to my ego, and it was kind of, and I tell the story, it was kind of interesting, where I was floating in the pool of this, this $8 million, 10,000 square foot house on the beach, and it was about a month after I finished it, and I got massively depressed, and I was like, what's going on? I worked for this for 20 years. It was my goal, and that's when you said, that your why changes. That's when my why changed. And I started, instead of focusing on Rod, I started focusing outwardly and started a charity, and that's turned into something amazing. And so, it's great to hear someone else that had an epiphany like that and realize there are bigger things than having to prove ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It's not about proving to others what you can do. It's being the best.
It's owning yourself, really.
It's owning yourself. If you're living in this country, if you're living anywhere else or anywhere in the world, you need to be the best that you can be, because of all those other people that came before.
Because of the gift that you have by being able to live here. Truly, guys, those of you listening, it's a gift. I'm an immigrant as well, and we are so blessed to live in this incredible country. I mean, I truly thank God that we're given this gift, because that's really so. Even if you're in a job that you don't love, not making, maybe you haven't reached the level of success that you want. I want to tell you, if you want to do some contrast with the rest of the world, because we have such a gift in this country. So let me ask you this, Nizan, what, if you could go back in time, you've been in this business a long time now, you've had your father's influence, but if you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something about this business, what might you do differently? What might you say to that person?
I would say start sooner.
Start sooner. I've heard that answer so many times. It's so true, guys. So guys, those of you listening, get the education. I don't care if it's with me. Go get it. Find a mentor and get started, okay? I don't care. Even if it takes you to look at 300 properties to find one, start looking. Start making those relationships. Make those phone calls. Pick a market, and realize and discover where you need help and where you have deficiencies. Align yourself with people. Go to local real estate investor club meetings. Get out there, meet people, start the relationships, and get going.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, do you have a favorite quote? Because I know you're a very driven guy, and you've got your own radio show. By the way, what's the name of your radio show?
It's called The Traveling Investor.
Traveling Investor. Awesome.
Yeah, it airs every Thursday at 1 p.m. And I would love to have you on my show so I can interview you and share.
Honor. Yeah, it'd be an honor. Thank you. So what's a favorite quote or two?
One of my favorite quotes is "Fake it till you make it."
It's a good one. Act as if
you are already that person. If you're making $20,000 a month and you've got 10,000 units under your belt and you've got all that experience, how would you talk to a broker? How would you talk to your network? How would you talk to people? Become that.
Yep.
Right.
And you will become that if you act that way. So that's great advice.
Right.
Okay.
Another one of my favorite sayings is successful people do the hardest thing. They build relationships.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Trump has a quote about the relationship. No, it's Kiyosaki that has a great quote about relationships. Awesome. Well, listen, Nizan, it's been a real pleasure. I really have enjoyed interviewing you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on my show. And
thank you. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's definitely stay in touch, my friend.
I look forward to it. Take care.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a minute to visit iTunes and leave your comments. For more resources or to connect with us further, please visit our website at rodkhleif.com. Tune in next week for our next show.